December 20th, 1989. The United States military, led by Delta Force, launches a high-stakes rescue mission. Their objective? To extract American intelligence officer Kurt Muse from his hostage position at Carcel Modelo, a heavily guarded facility in the heart of Panama City. Just prior to this, the US had launched Operation Just Cuz to remove dictator Manuel Noriega from power. Noriega was the de facto ruler of Panama from 1983 to 1989, and despite never officially being the president of Panama, he had complete control through an army of puppet presidents. For several years throughout the late 80s, Noriega maintained close ties with American intelligence agencies, but after amassing a fortune through drug trafficking and racketeering operations, he was becoming a little too powerful. Noriega had two personality traits that other world leaders feared. He had charisma and he was intelligent. His ability to play both sides with the United States and former Soviet Union was becoming a major concern, because for a short period of time, he was seemingly in control of the chess game he created. The only way to capture the king in this game of chess was to send in the best of the best. Manuel Noriega was indicted by the US for drug-related crimes in 1988. From here, relations between Panama and the United States rapidly deteriorated, and it seemed that both sides were on the brink of a much bigger conflict. Noriega would end up threatening America's control of the Panama Canal, and then, after the 1989 Panama elections, he voided the results and proceeded to crack down on any opposing political parties. The United States, aware of the power trip, finally took action in late 1989 after Panamanian forces killed a US Marine and proceeded to harass American citizens overseas. President George H.W. Bush authorized the invasion of Panama to capture Noriega, and everything that followed would happen with haste. 27,000 US troops were given the green light to roll into Panama and overthrow Noriega, but there was a much more important clandestine mission taking place at the same time. For months prior, 23 members of Delta Force were training around the clock to pull off a daring hostage rescue. Intelligence officer and American citizen Kurt Muse had been held as a prisoner in Panama City's Carcel Modelo for 9 months. Although concerning, Kurt's captivity wasn't seen as a major security threat until tensions started to rise between Panama and the United States. However, things escalated as soon as Noriega realized he had a target on his back. Noriega vowed that the first bullet fired would be the first one that killed Kurt Muse. And, to make matters worse, an armed guard stood watch at Kurt's cell 24/7 to ensure that this would be the case. The Army knew that there was some serious weight behind this statement, and it came around the same time that they authorized airstrikes on Noriega's command center right across the street. Delta Force would have to act with extreme poise and stealth to pull off a successful extraction. 23 Delta Force members, aided by MH-6 Little Bird helicopters, landed on the rooftop of Carcel Modelo prison under the cover of complete darkness. Their plan was to kill Muse's would-be executioner, make their way to the prison cell, pull off the rescue, and take Kurt to the roof for extraction. On paper, every box was checked, but things don't always go according to plan. There's no such thing as smooth sailing in the Special Forces, and this became evident when one operator had to be the first man in and rappel himself down a prison wall to neutralize any initial threats. If the American-made helicopters didn't immediately raise some red flags, the first combat engagement definitely did, because as soon as the Delta Force operator made his entry, the shots started to ring out. In a stunning turn of events, the guard who was meant to kill Kurt Muse on contact ended up fleeing the scene and barricading himself in a room. The remaining Delta Force members on the roof used a shape charge to blow the door off its foundation, and they proceeded to move in. Once in the building, the operators described themselves as flowing like water, killing any guards that remained and breaking the lock to Kurt Muse's cell. They quickly fitted him with a helmet and a flak jacket before taking him back up to the roof for extraction. The precious cargo was secured, but the mission was far from over. Once on the roof, Delta Force loaded onto their MH-6 Little Bird helicopter and gave the thumbs up to take off. After several liftoff attempts, the crew realized that the bird was too heavy, and the only workaround was for 3 Delta members to stay behind, hidden in the shadows on a blown-up rooftop. Those on board started flying back to Howard Air Force Base, but with some type of miracle shot, a Panamanian bullet struck the engine of the Little Bird and forced it to crash land. A successful hostage rescue quickly turned into a separate combat engagement, forcing Delta Force operators to secure the crash site and once again protect Kurt Muse. Thankfully, everyone on board survived the crash landing, as well as the events that followed. A column of armored personnel carriers scooped the men up and ferried them away to safety. In the end, no US service members were killed in Operation Acid Gambit, and the mission was ultimately a success. Muse was reunited with his family, while most of the Delta Force members continued their Army careers.